Nigeria is in a crisis state. And without missing words, it's an unstable polity. It is the responsibility of leadership to address all the pockets of grievances in the country. But unfortunately, those in leadership position don't understand the dynamics of nation building. And therefore, they are playing with the destiny of the country. What do I mean by this? When you then have a government that is using the army to pacify its own people, as the colonial masters did before, that country is on a self-destruct mission. Because it will get to a point that both the instrument of violence of the states will lose its legitimacy, and non-state actors will take over. They should go and find out what happened in Somalia. Siad Barre, at the height of his dictatorship and irresponsibility, was doing area bombing of his citizens. We saw it in the name of killing so-called, wiping out so-called pipeline vendors in Arepo. Nigerian military bombing her own citizens. It's a dangerous precedent that should not be allowed to happen in this country. And if they make the same mistake in Delta, in the Niger Delta, the country is set on a self-destruct, mission. We want them. The only way Nigeria can run normally is through restructuring of this country. When we fought the military before 1999, it was the kernel of our demand. We were asking for a sovereign national conference. And since 1999, these people, the traditional politicians and their military collaborators, have parodied the demand for sovereign national conference by calling responsible conferences. Even the little merit within those conferences have not been implemented, if it can be granted. And so, there is still time. But as you know, other nations are not waiting for Nigeria. Only a few days ago, South African, overtook again Nigerian economy. And I don't see us being able to bridge the gap. Because 1 year after the prevailing administration, diversification of the economy still remains a slogan. A government that is purposeful ought to be telling the world now that we have harvested 30 million tons of maize. This is rainy season. In Nigeria, it's so fertile that you can plant maize 3 times in a year. If we were to harvest over 30 million tons of maize, the dollar value will crash. Because, of course, the price of bread, which is currently 300 naira, will probably crash to 50 naira. Because there will be more raw materials, to bake. There will also be more raw material to make poultry feeds. And the price of egg and chicken will also collapse. And so that is the way you build the economy. Production. But of course, unfortunately, I doubt whether we have people who are thinking, in this country. That's the situation in which we are. After the collapse of the First Republic, when the military took over and the subsequent civil administration, which I like to call interregnums, or interregna that we have had, we've never had any meaningful transformation. It's been a story of the stolen billions from time to time. And looking at the current administration, it was true that Nigerians were largely dissatisfied, under the previous administration, that is the Jonathan administration. They felt things were not, moving the way they wanted it. They could not see, even fathom, not to see the dividends of democracy. And so, within a quasi-democratic setting, periods of elections are the only opportunities that citizens often have to change governments. And so they usurped that, opportunity that came in 2015 to alter the government of the country. But of course, between the last election and now, we are yet to see a direction in the context of the prevailing administration, where they are going to. We are yet to also even see the content of their policies. And so, already across the land, there is a pervasive gloom. There is a pervasive disaffection among the Nigerian people. And again, largely, new security problems are arising. The herdsmen, maiming, killing, raping across the country with no fundamental response from the government. And they are yet to get the economy right. At least Jonathan left the dollar at about, the naira at about 170-something, 180-something to the dollar. Today, dollar is almost 400. And forecasters are saying that by December, we might have 1,000 naira exchanging for $1. For me, it was clear. The administration didn't have any policy, articulated one. They came into power, they were in search of policy. And of course, when a country opened its flanks and let the rest of the world know that it has a policy vacuum, agencies of global governance occupied the space, and the IMF and the World Bank came in. We saw Christine Lagarde came into this country, to prescribe traditional IMF World Bank recipes. Now, economies that are just growing or that are yet to attain even industrial takeoff don't implement liberalization policy. In fact, they need autarkic policies. That's closure. To build their economy, lay the foundation before they can open up to the rest of the world. Because we have a global economy that is unequal. The advanced capitalist economies are well ahead every other economy in the world. So, emerging economies or markets or developing economies can't compete in that global frame. Particularly the structure of production that was left in most developing countries by the SY colonial masters, that structure has not been altered. It is one of, the advanced countries produce industrialized goods or capital goods, export to the peripheral, or so-called third world economies. That has been the pattern. And here we produce raw materials to the neglect of food crops. So we are unable to feed our people, and we then rely on import of even food crops or common commodities that we need to feed ourselves. We have to import them from overseas. And therefore we remain in perpetual, balance of payment deficit. That has been the nature. And so the only way you can break away from it is through some autarkic policy. Non-liberalization or devaluation of currency. The rules are very clear. According to capitalist economists or bourgeois economists, it is very clear that you devalue your currency if that country is producing and it tends to harness some market advantage so that you bring down your price, you then attract more buyers. And by sheer force of quantity or scale, you are then able to make more profit. Now, here is a country that does not produce anything. It imports everything, even up to toothpick, which an 8-year-old child can do in Nigeria, but which he or she is not being encouraged to do. We import all of those things into the country. Now, so on what is the basis of devaluation of your currency? The only product, a monoculture economy that we are, that product is already denominated in dollar. The crude oil is denominated in dollar. The price is determined in the spot market. Either spot or futures. Now, that is the only product we have. So the government went ahead to devalue currency. Because some agencies of global governance say, and they are eternal mouthpiece, such as those they call Bismarck, from London School of Lagos Business School, and they are, following those policies. Yeah. And we have seen almost the economy is crashing. People have said that corruption is not just about stealing money. There are ethical issues that are also involved in corruption. When a government is being run on the basis of nepotism, that government is corrupt. It's not about those who steal money, physical cash. When institutions of the states are unbalanced in a multinational country, there's corruption because you are laying the foundation for the destruction of the country. And therefore, development becomes a mirage at the end of the day. So these are the dangers that we face. And I think that whether those who are the bashers of the country today remain in power or not, time will tell. Because struggle is not an immediate thing. Struggle involves organization. It involves building of public opinion. And the public opinion has already been built up and is heavily weighted against the prevailing administration. And if they allow the rule of the ballot to reign, the Nigerian people will surely vote them out of power. That's the way to put it. But of course, again, theoretically, those who make peaceful change impossible make violent change inevitable. And as Marx put it, for every society, old society, pregnant with a new one, violence is always the midwife. But of course, part of the responsibility of leadership is to ensure that those doomsday predictions do not come to pass by aggrandizing the people, by unleashing policies that will improve the general well-being of the people. To the extent that the government is not able to provide for the welfare of its citizens, we can't say Nigeria is a failed state. To the extent that there are non-state actors who are laying claim to the sovereignty of the country, Nigeria can be said to be a failed state.